God bless you and yours this Christmas and all through the year. Services here take on a different tone. Around Christmas, we tend to be more reflective than really preachy, thinking back over all the lessons of the year, of our worship, but especially of the powerful meaning that Christ's coming into our lives, both in Bethlehem and in our life of faith, what that gives us, each of us. I hope that this reflection from our worship services this Christmas helps you consider the meaning of holy days and the life that Christ has come to give you. I'd like to tell you a parable, a Christmas parable. Arnold Jenkins owned one of those great old century homes. It was first built as a farmhouse, but as the town moved up around it, it held on as a landmark of how things were. And while the new house down the road had maples and low hedges, the Jenkins house was well shaded by aged oaks, deep cedar shrubs, even had a chestnut tree. Inside the house, in the front parlor room, there was still an old upholstered chair and a spindle table that was put in when the house was first built by Arnold's great-grandfather, with a fireplace of tile and brick that could keep the house warm when the power went out, and at other times too. Oh, there were signs of modernity. It wasn't just an old house. There were plugs in each room. Oil lights were all gone, except for one in the main hall, just in case the power went out. And they put in a bathroom on the main level. That was for Ellen when she found it hard to get up the stairs. And the front den was no longer a sitting room and entertainment room, but it was changed over. It was transformed into a bedroom, again for Ellen. And Arnold kept using it. It was easier, too, because those stairs were a bit of a climb, and he wasn't always sure whether it was him or the stairs that was doing all the creaking and squeaking. Arnold grew up in that house. He knew every inch of it. He helped his father make changes that he needed when he was getting older. And then it was converted over to being a family home again for Arnold and Helen when his folks had passed on and passed it on to him. He and Ellen raised the kids there, Thomas, Molly, and Ernest. They were all grown up now. They had families of their own. Thomas had insisted that his dad should come and join them for Christmas. He was even going to drive the 8 hours to get him, but weather changes things all the year through, but especially in winter. And when storms were predicted on the days leading up to Christmas, especially on the 23rd and Christmas Eve, it meant a lot of people were snowed in. And Arnold told the kids he'd be okay. The house was safe and sure, and he even went into the backyard and clipped down an old spruce tree that he said was growing in the wrong spot. He put a few decorations on it, and then Ellen's picture beside it. It would be his first Christmas after her passing. The last few Christmases had just been him and Ellen. That's why the kids all wanted him to go to one of their houses, to go to their homes and be a part of their celebrations, but they all lived so far away. He agreed mainly to keep them happy. But he assured Tommy that they'd both be happiest, talking on the phone and knowing that everybody was safe. On Christmas Eve, the storm abated enough in the evening to allow Arnold to get into a cab to go down to church downtown. His family had gone to that church now for how many generations? 4? Maybe 5. But with the kids away, the family pew looked a bit empty. Now, there was a family that Sunday by Sunday had taken to sitting with Arnold, and the kids in that family always loved that Arnold had peppermints. Though this family wasn't there this Christmas Eve, they had taken a trip south for a tropical Christmas vacation. Arnold joked to a few people that maybe he should have gone with them too. The service was nice. The preacher talked too much, but the choir was nice. He never got tired, ever, in his life of hearing the Christmas story. And this year it was one of the youth who was doing the readings. She spoke so well and clearly. Arnold could hear her clear as a bell. It reminded him of when Molly had read in church. Was that really 30 years ago? And the minister was kind enough to give Arnold the drive home afterwards on his way to conduct another Christmas service. He was even good enough not to go over the sermon again. Arnold wondered what kind of Christmas the preacher and his family would be having. As Arnold opened the door, he was caught a little off guard. The house had never seemed so big. Once there would be a lot of hustle and bustle getting home from church, snow being kicked off and children running for the candies and the goodies, the smell and the sound and the feel of the fireplace. Coats built up and straining the hooks by the door, and Ellen would be heating a cider, mixing some eggnog. He called the kids. He had to try Ernest twice. They were late getting home from church. The children were all in the pageant that year, and Ernest had it all on video. "I'll upload it, Dad. You can watch it by the morning." They were great. Sure wish you were here. Arnold could hear his grandchildren in the background getting louder and more silly. And finally there was a sound of bells or tinkling or something breaking. "Hey, Dad, I have to go. The dog is in the tree. I'll try and get you a picture. Gotta go. Love you, Dad. Merry Christmas." The last words were offered a little more timidly. But Arnold gave an assuring Merry Christmas, love to y'all. And before heading off to bed, Arnold went and stood in the parlor by the tree. A few presents from some friends there, and a present from a neighbor, and a number of cards stacked neatly. No, he wasn't forgotten. He was just by himself. He even had to assure Molly that he wasn't lonely. The house was too full of memories for him to be lonely. So many Christmases in that house. Arnold looked from the parlor to the dining room, the vast table that somehow seated everybody when it needed to. It would have only him this Christmas. Arnold could remember where his grandparents had sat, where he and his brother had scratched the table one year with their toy train, where Tommy had tipped the candles one year and scorched the tablecloth and table. That ended the tradition of candlelight Christmas dinners. All those empty places. Everyone had moved on or gone on. Great-grandparents, grandparents, his parents, his siblings, Ellen. The kids were away. The table, this table, was being emptied. And it stirred a thought in Arnold. It was back a month before, just before Christmas, they had celebrated communion at church, and the minister spoke about the table in heaven. The feast and table we will share with Jesus. Arnold looked around his table and felt not sadness, but the kind of deep joy that can give you those tears that don't hurt. They heal as they are shed. For as Arnold thought over all those who were not there, he smiled happily, thinking about where they were. And while he was looking at where they used to be, they were maybe looking at a place where he would sit someday, though not today. Arnold touched Ellen's picture as he made his way to bed. And as he said his evening prayers, he rejoiced for the place where he was and the place that was being made ready for him, and the joy God gave him in all of it. May God bless you and yours this Christmas season and all through the year. Merry Christmas.